Guys, on North Carolina, that's where we start today. You know what? Give them enough rope and they will hang themselves. But if it were ever true, it's true today in North Carolina. These crazy Bible-pounding, religious, zealot conservatives take over the state legislature and get elected governor, and then they cannot help themselves, right? They just can't help just going over the edge. They get power, and they use it to try to force their religion on everybody else. Their very narrow, twisted, unchristian form of religion, and try to force it on everybody else in the name of God, in the name of religion, and it is blowing up in their face in North Carolina. We've talked so often about this bathroom law, right? Where, remember how it started? The city of Charleston passed a measure, Charlotte passed a measure, a city ordinance that just says you cannot discriminate in the use of you can't discriminate against transgender people in the use of bathrooms. You can't discriminate against anybody, right? But it was particularly aimed to protect transgender people. And the state legislature, so worried, right, that some transgender person might use a bathroom that they didn't think they should use because if they weren't born a man, but they've transgendered or whatever, the transitioned, yeah. And then they end up using the ladies' room. Oh, my God. As if this is happening every time you turn around, right? And they passed this HB2, which rushed it through, no hearings, no nothing, rushed it through in one day. And Pat McCrory signed it, governor signed it into law that same day. And it has been hell to pay ever since. So yesterday, the Justice Department said yesterday was the deadline for North Carolina saying, okay, we're not going to enforce this law because it's discriminatory. How did North Carolina meet the deadline? They sued the federal government here. And who announced it? Governor Pat McCrory. Here he is yesterday saying that we think that this should not be decided by any legislative body.
We believe a court, rather than a federal agency, should tell our state, our nation, and employers across the country what the law requires.
Right. Now, remember, I'm coming back. This is a city of Charlotte with a city ordinance, one city. But the state legislature took it over and said, Charlotte cannot do that. No city in Carolina can do that. Now, Pat McCrory wants to take it to the next level.
This is now a national issue and an issue which imposes new law on every private sector employer throughout the United States of America with over 15 employees.
So you see what he's doing? I mean, understand, these guys, they're so dumb. What he is saying is, we are the party that believes in smaller government, but now we want the national government to take over.
Yeah.
Right. We are the government that believes in states' rights, but now we want the federal government to tell us what to do. It just contradicts everything the Republican Party is supposed to stand for. Don't they get it? And by the way, it is unconstitutional and it is discriminatory. So then the Attorney General, she was ready, man. Loretta Lynch, she was ready yesterday. She came out guns a-blazing, and she countersued against North Carolina. Here she is.
We are seeking a court order declaring HB2's restroom restriction impermissibly discriminatory.
She called it state-sanctioned discrimination.
Yeah.
And she compared it to the same. She said, we've seen this before. This is like the Jim Crow laws down in the South. In fact, as the Attorney General said yesterday, there used to be other signs.
It was not so very long ago that states, including North Carolina, had other signs above restrooms, water fountains, and on public accommodations, keeping people out based on a distinction without a difference.
Yep, and there it is. And so now it is all hell to pay. And she further added that the federal government has every right now, every reason to withhold federal funds. It could be $1.4 billion a year that goes to the University of North Carolina, by the way, that North Carolina could lose. And as we know, several businesses have already said they're not going to expand now in North Carolina or maybe move out of the state. And several entertainers, including Bruce Springsteen, Pearl Jam, and a lot of others, have canceled concerts planned in the state. So this is really hurting North Carolina, and it should.
Yeah. I pulled up her some of her statements from yesterday, Loretta Lynch, and this gets to the heart of the whole argument of what government is doing for you, right? Because Republicans try and say government's not doing anything to help us. If you're a transgendered person or you're a confused person or this is something that's you're young and you're not sure what's going on, right? And you don't know how you're going to be accepted. Just really quickly from her comments, she says, quote, "Let me also speak directly to the transgender community itself. Some of you have lived freely for decades. Others of you are still wondering how you could possibly live the lives you were born to lead. But no matter how isolated or scared you might feel today, the Department of Justice and the entire Obama administration wants you to know that we see you, we stand with you, and we will do everything we can to protect you going forward. History is on your side. We'll get there together."
Great. Good for her. Good for her. God bless America. And again, this is just the latest form of discrimination. You know, they just keep coming back and try to treat certain Americans differently just because they're not the same as we are. And it is going to backfire. In fact, there's a great story in Politico this morning that the Republicans now in North Carolina expecting the blowback. And let me just read one quick quote from the senator who is he's for this law, right? And the reality is, this is a state representative. One of the sponsors of the law says, the reality is that HB 2 hurts. It doesn't matter that I'm opposed to it or that I've called for its repeal, because the mailer to voters in my race is going to say that I was part of the Republican majority that passed the most discriminatory bill in the state, if not in the nation. And the one who is going to feel the blowback the most is Governor Pat McCrory, who is up for re-election this year against Attorney General Roy Cooper. Now, McCrory's trying to say, hey, this ain't my bill. I didn't have anything to do with it. Oh, yeah? He signed the bill? And yesterday, he sued the federal government, and he announced the lawsuit. This is McCrory's baby.
Yeah.
So what do you think? North Carolina, are they finally going to do the right thing and repeal this law, or do you think they'll fight to the death? And what will happen because of it? It is just absolutely, this thing is so one-sided, and they are so dumb. But I got to tell you, proud of the Attorney General stepping up yesterday. She did not hesitate. She was ready to go. But also kudos to our good friends Monday, Moral Mondays down there. Yeah. We'll be right back.